Good evening. Welcome to Study Hall for the week of November 22nd. I saw April 1st, 2012 on the school bell sound effect ring, and I'm like, what? Okay, so here we are. November 22nd. I am your host, Aged Boomer. With me is my co-host.
No, that's perfectly right.
Whatever. Okay. Troy Pacelli, otherwise known as Troy Pacelli.
Hey, how's everyone doing tonight?
You have to ask me what I'm sipping.
What are you sipping on?
I have an Arizona Mucho Mango. He cracked this open.
That actually sounds really, really good.
It's not bad. I don't know if they use these for mixed drinks, but I drink it by itself. You get them in the tall cans at the store. They never have the Arizona teas at my local grocers, though. They only have the fruit juices, but I got used to this one, so.
That's cool.
All right.
I'm just having some Diet Squirt. Perfectly virgin. I got to work tomorrow.
Diet Squirt?
Yeah.
That sounds sad. What is Squirt? What is it?
It's basically a grapefruit flavored soda.
Oh, that doesn't sound bad.
No, it's really good. Yeah. But
I
yeah,
like grapefruit. I didn't like it when I was a child, but I developed a taste for it when I got older. But
yeah. But grapefruit soda. I mean, it's still sweet. It's not.
Yeah.
Mouth-puckeringly bitter.
What did I have recently that tasted like grapefruit?
A grapefruit?
Oh, no, I think it was some kind of seltzer drink. Okay, anyway.
Oh, okay.
Just say hi to the chat. Hello, Nanette. I'm sure you're in here somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Although he's fallen off, Daniel Herron was actually first and second.
Oh, good.
Because he switched over and gave us a like from Soundtracks with Birdman.
That's true. He has he did the two channels there. Okay. But
then Al was third.
Al was third. Good.
Well, or second, depending on how you count Daniel Herron.
Gotcha. He had a sweet score of some LPs I'm a little jealous of, but
I know, right?
You got the Young Sherlock Holmes soundtrack. I recently ordered that on a CD actually, so so we both got it around the same time. I figure at some point we'll probably do a rewatch of Young Sherlock Holmes. I think it's a very underrated Amblin movie, but okay. But I want to say hi to everybody. Back to the drawing board, Melissa Harris, and did you hear about Dan Slott terrible retcon of Franklin Richards? Do you know what that's about?
I have not. I have seen a lot of news flying through my through my stream about Franklin Richards and Dan Slott, but I don't know exactly what it's about. And I've seen some other stuff about Dan Slott. I don't know. I'll have to look into that. I would not be prepared to go live with anything on that today.
Gotcha.
Animaniacs Reboot. I haven't seen it, and I haven't even seen any of the videos about it yet. Although I have heard it is boring at best, just terrible at worst.
I watched the first and last episodes because I didn't know if we were going to be talking about it on the stream. It's very strange. For starters, unless these characters make cameos in other shorts, like starring, it's always Warner Brothers or Pinky and the Brain every episode. Yeah. There's also a musical number every episode. It's almost like they took what they thought the fans wanted.
Yeah. Instead of actually listening to what the fans want. That's a big problem. We'll probably talk more about that tonight.
I did watch the last episode because it said Dr. Scratch and Sniff, and it's the only episode he was on all season. So I wanted to know if Hello Nurse was going to be on it. She was not.
Of course she was not.
We made one mention of her saying I should have joined Doctors with Borders with Hello Nurse. They're afraid to put her on the show. Okay. That's what's going on there. Exactly. I don't know. I wanted to hear the First Lady's song because I was terrified they were going to do something nasty about the current First Lady, which they didn't. They were fine. Okay. So I was happy about that. But, I kind of don't like it when they.
I agree.
And they also, the first episode, they did a retrospective What's Happened the Last 20 Years song. And I realized not much has happened the last 20 years. When I'm watching the song, it's like, none of this is exciting stuff. This is just the internet. The internet blew up. That's basically the big thing.
Exactly.
And we had elections, and I don't know if they brought up the wars or not. Probably not in great detail. It's just, I don't know. It feels like it's trying to be too careful.
Yeah.
And there's a little bit of sprinkling and political correctness in there, but I don't know if they're doing that for the laughs that it is politically correct or they're doing it to be politically correct. I don't know. And it's just,
I'll,
has that
I'll
self-aware
address that
humor.
whole zeitgeist when we get to, although it's not Warner Brothers, when we get to Disney. I think some things I think about what's happening in the industry that I'll talk about.
Yeah, but overall, I wasn't that impressed. I didn't hate it, but I also wasn't, in love with it either. And I was starting to wonder too, did I like the original now? And I think I did. But now I'm going to rewatch some of the older episodes to see, is it just me nostalgic on something that maybe wasn't that good to begin with, or is it just the new show isn't that good? It's probably the new show isn't that good, but I am kind of curious now.
Yeah.
All right, but other people here tonight: Casey Scott, Leia Plus Size, Brian Gilmartin,
yeah,
Wolf 10 Media, Sound Engraver. Hello.
Did you get Auditor Dread?
Auditor Dread, I don't think I did, but welcome. I think he was early. Big Al, thank you. All right. If I missed anyone, I apologize.
Leia Plus Size? Did you say?
I did say Leia Plus Size.
I'm sorry. I want to make sure
you weren't listening to what I was saying, but that's okay. I'm kidding.
I know. I'm trying to go through that. I'm reading and listening at the same
you
time.
and your full work week, and you got to get up at the crack of dawn. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Anyway. All right. So we got some stories to talk about tonight. Are we excited about the nerd culture news?
Absolutely not. We are never going to be excited about news culture ever again. There's a reason that I chose Stadler and Waldorf to be our mascots on this show, my friend.
We have one maybe positive story tonight, so we try to include something positive each stream.
We'll get to that, but I'm getting to be like Professor Geek. Even when we get good news, I tend to be pessimistic about it and assume the worst.
Well, I don't want to become
Professor Geek. I understand that completely.
No, I don't want to hate everything new. Bull, actually, I'll say something good that happened this week. A big fan of the TV show Bull. Bull is back on the air. They did a COVID-19 episode, and it was all about how he was out of work for months, and that they thought they were gonna he was gonna have to how Bull has a lot of money, right?
Sure.
He has so much money after all these months without cases go on, and he's trying to maintain the facilities and everything.
Yeah.
And then he finally gets a case, and he goes into the courtroom, and they says, we can't have jurors. Everyone's going to speak through this speaker. And he's like, I can't see the jurors.
Yeah.
And he freaks out, and it looks like he's going to lose the case because he can't see he can't see anything, and his radar is off, and there are these weird musical numbers in there, and he's having to wear the mask at times and stuff. And then finally, it turns out it was a fever dream, and he wakes up, and Benny says, "Oh, we thought we lost you. You don't have the beer bug. You just had a fever. You must have gotten it from the baby that you're holding. He has a kid now on the show now."
Oh my gosh. Yeah, no, I don't watch the show. He's dead to me ever since he left NCIS.
I don't care. I love him as Bull. I don't care. It's my favorite network show. And then basically, the courtroom's back. People have to wear masks, but it's based on, they basically say, okay, things are not as bad as what you were seeing in this episode. It'll still be semi-normal. I mean, they're still gonna have to deal with the COVID, but they're still gonna be able to do the show. I'm happy it's back on the air. I do like that show. And there's an example of a show that I would argue probably does have a diverse cast, but it feels natural. And I like all the characters. You know what I'm saying? Nothing feels forced on that show.
I was kind of having a chat in one of the streams with Wolf 10 Media a little bit, talking about the fact that we've had diverse casts for a long time. And for the most part, it really requires someone to point out to you, hey, did you notice that there was, this diverse cast on this show? And you stop and you think about it and you go, oh yeah, never really thought about it before. Because I know everybody is shocked to hear this, but we're not all racists, because that is not what our problem is with any of this diversity stuff. We're annoyed when you purposely change the race of a character. That in and of itself is racist.
Yeah. And but especially certain historical figures. But
exactly. And there was I gotta mention this in the Midnight's Edge group. They were talking about what was it? Something about someone was so upset. People I don't know, some famous person wrote a movie or something that has a musical piece, and the actress is playing someone with autism, and she got grief on social media because she didn't cast somebody who's mentally handicapped for the role. And she's like, are you serious? You know, and there was, you know, of course, Midnight's Edge, you got people commenting there. And I said, what is this world coming to? The next thing you know, you won't be able to cast a historic British queen as black.
That's a tie back to the ambulance story.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay.
It's fine for you to take and let's call it what it is, blackwash a character and blackwash history, but heaven forbid you cast in somebody, you know, who is a professional actor to role play someone who's mentally handicapped. Should we now be canceling what's his name, Dustin Hoffman for Rain Man?
No, or Claire Danes as Temple Grandin.
Right. Oh my God, I forgot about that. That's a good one. Or what was the one from Adventures in Babysitting? What's her name?
Elizabeth Shue.
Yeah. She played. What was that one that she played?
Did she play Helen Keller or something?
No. It was a modern dress thing. I can't remember, but she played someone who was on the spectrum. But this is just it. It's like, look, you know, sometimes people are not capable to play the role. Okay, I mean, you need an actor to play a role. You know.
I don't know. This just seems to be about tearing down art to me. I'm starting to come to this conclusion.
Yeah.
I've come to the conclusion that a lot of one of my big issues with a lot of all of this stuff being inserted into a lot of modern popular art is that it feels very inauthentic.
It's very inauthentic.
I was thinking this when I was watching Animaniacs with the humor. There's something about this that feels not authentic. And I think that's my main issue. Oh, but Back to the Drawing Board has a great comment. There's a difference between hating new things and hating people's defacing of your old things. I completely agree. And I think this might tie into our first story tonight. What do you think?
Yeah. Okay. Let's get into it because we're 12 minutes into the show. Yeah. We got a lot to cover. So let's get into the first one. So welcome to our Hollywood apocalypse update. That's pretty much going to be what most of the shows.
I basically just put it on the front. I might just start putting it on each episode for a while. I don't know.
Right. Exactly.
Okay.
So we have Johnny Depp and AH back in the news, and it's mostly because of some comments by Margot Robbie. Margot Robbie responds to those Pirates of the Caribbean rumors. And let me go ahead and drop the link because I always want to attribute what I'm talking about, so you don't ever accuse me of just making stuff up.
Yes. But this is of the possible, I believe, is it a Pirates of the Caribbean spin-off movie?
They're calling it a reboot.
Or a reboot, or
they tend to use reboots they tend to use reboot as a very general catch-all. Reboot meaning a sequel after a long period of time, or a remake, or an alternate version of, or something that takes place in the same universe. They consider it all to be a reboot.
Yes.
Yeah. Am I roboting? Because
a little bit, but you're fine now.
Okay. But yeah, so what it looks like to me, and if tell me if you are reading the situation differently than I am, but I guess Margot Robbie has been talking about the possibility that she will be leading the next Pirates of the Caribbean movie. Not that she's going to be cast as a female version of Jack Sparrow, but has she been in this franchise before and she's reprising a role or something?
No, I've seen all of them. I can't believe I've seen all of them. And yes, let me see. No, she has never been in one of these movies before. I had heard a rumor a while back that it was going to be Karen Gillan.
Well,
that there was a thing they wanted to do an all female-led or female-led Pirates of the Caribbean.
And there are a lot of fans that are very much on that bandwagon. And I'll be honest with you, I would not be opposed to that myself. I think she would be perfect. She could use her natural accent and it would be perfectly fine.
You mean Karen Gillan?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think that's going to happen now because now it's all about Margot Robbie.
Yeah,
that was just a rumor that never came to pass.
Which, from a business standpoint, yeah, that's freaking brilliant. I mean, because we know that Birds of Prey and Suicide Squad have really done so well for Warner Brothers. She's a big box office draw now.
Yeah, I was about to say that there was a line in the article by Adam Holmes that it was Margot Robbie. She certainly got what it takes to anchor her own corner of the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise, and I'm thinking, no, there's no evidence of this. I'm not saying that she couldn't act, but we have no proof of this so far because her big solo outing, I think, was Birds of Prey, and that was a disaster.
Yeah. Yep, you're exactly right.
I'm not.
I feel like she's taking some really bad roles. She needs to fire her.
Yeah, she was in the Tarzan movie, which I know people were mixed on. I liked it, but some people didn't.
There was a Tarzan movie.
There was a Tarzan movie, and Margot Robbie played Jane.
Oh my gosh!
You didn't see that? It had the guy from True Blood, the one who played the Eric vampire. Skarsgård is his last name. Oh yeah,
I can see that.
He was Tarzan. He was Tarzan. Samuel Jackson was in it. I didn't think it was bad, but people were mixed on it. But that was, of course, I think that was an independent production that Hollywood bought. I mean, it had a decent budget because you'll notice some of these Hollywood movies that come up by Hollywood studios, they actually are made independently, and sometimes they are put in theaters, even the more blockbustery type movies like Kingsman. Sure. So not everything is always done by a Hollywood studio. But
I like what Leia Plus Size says. She said, "Reboot is in this age of woke is race and gender swap white male characters." Pretty much true.
But I'm not even saying that Margot Robbie couldn't headline her own movie. I think she's been in some bad films lately, though. I'm trying to think what else she's been in. The first thing I ever saw her in was Wolf of Wall Street.
She was awesome in that.
Yeah, and she was supposed to be in a Crocodile Dundee, like a Son of Crocodile Dundee movie that I don't know ever saw the light of day. I saw a trailer for it. I think Chris Hemsworth.
I could get behind that too.
I think Chris Hemsworth was going to be in it, but like the joke was Crocodile Dundee's son was like an oaf. I don't know. I don't even know if that movie ever came out, but I haven't seen her in much else. She was Tanya Harding in the Tanya Harding movie, which I kind of skipped because Tanya Harding, but
yeah,
it doesn't mean it was a bad film.
I was going to say that would not help her in my opinion, but as you can imagine, though, the fans of Johnny Depp are a little bit not happy about this because, for crying out loud, the only reason anyone even cares is because of Jack Sparrow. So there's been a petition going around by the fans saying, we want Johnny Depp to return, and personally, I actually signed the petition myself. I'm even going to, you know what, guys, what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop the link to the actual petition. If you have right here, right now, the one that's coming up, there you go. It's a change.org petition. If you feel like Johnny Depp should return as Jack Sparrow, make sure you go sign that petition and then go share it around because justice for Johnny.
Not to get too off track, but there's some big fallout about the Fantastic Beasts stuff now. I think they went to who was in the original one? Colin Farrell was the one who was Johnny Depp was disguised as in that movie, and they asked if he would come back. He said no, not happening. I know people just personally that were fans of that series that will not be going to see part 3 now of Fantastic Beasts because they got rid of Johnny Depp. I think they did a miscalculation here, big time. Now with Disney, I don't think that the Amber Heard trial is helping things, but I think even before they were going to have him do a cameo. I think that's what he was complaining about. That newspaper article cost him a cameo as Jack Sparrow in the rebooted Pirates movie,
right?
Because I think the idea is that they probably wanted to start anew. My personal opinion is that why don't you just leave Pirates of the Caribbean alone for a while, Disney?
Because Disney can't. They are clinging to anything they think will bring them any kind of revenue.
They own all of Lucasfilm, all of Marvel. They have other stuff. And
those are all new. Those are all millstones around their necks. They are losing money on all of them.
Okay.
They need marketing dollars. They are struggling. They are milking everything. In fact, when we get to the Disney thing, I'll talk more about this, but all the decisions they're making is to mitigate any public image damage. So when we talk about them getting woke, it's not really pushing agendas. It's really just we are trying not to tick off anybody. We don't want anyone to be upset with us. Unfortunately, what happens when you try to please everybody? You end up pleasing no one.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, when you try to please everybody, you please no one. I kept trying to think, though, the last Pirates of the Caribbean movie, when it came out, I didn't think it did that hot box office. And then I looked it up, and I realized, oh, it was the weakest Pirates of the Caribbean box office for the United States, but worldwide it was the best.
Yeah.
So that's why they're continuing on. Because did you see Dead Men Tell No Tales?
I did.
Yeah, yeah.
It was okay.
It was okay. Oddly enough, my favorite one was the one with Blackbeard, and I don't know if people don't like that one, but
yeah, that was okay.
That was the fourth one. I learned later on that they had wanted to do the main plot of the movie was it's going to be about a pirate named it's going to be about Jack Sparrow looking for the Fountain of Youth, and Blackbeard kidnaps him, and then of course they found out that there was already a pirate novel with that same plot line, and even the main name of the pirate was Jack. So they just bought the rights to the novel from the guy just to make it into the screenplay. So I wonder if that might have been why it was one of the more coherent Pirates of the Caribbean movies. But
interesting.
I don't know. It was just
I didn't know anything about that. That's interesting for Disney, because usually Disney just goes ahead and does it and then waits to get sued.
Yeah, we'll be getting to that soon enough. But the Bumblebee Birds of Prey screenwriter is attached to write this screenplay, Christina Hudson.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing? You tell me. I have no idea.
I didn't see Bumblebee. I heard horrible things about Birds of Prey. So I still have yet to watch Birds of Prey. I have to tell you, though, I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't talk trash about news stories I read, but this struck me as what they call shill media. It was a very positive article about this, and I'm thinking, I don't know. And my main opinion of this whole situation is that I don't know if this movie is going to see the light of day. What do you think?
Which one? The Pirates?
This Pirates movie with Margot.
Well, that's the other thing that I was hearing too. I mean, they haven't started anything. When you're at that stage, there is no reason to believe it's going to happen at all. So this could all be a bunch of, none such.
Well, maybe this screenwriter will write the screenplay and it'll get shelved for 20 years, and then they'll make it then.
Yeah.
And it'll go through about 20 hands in between now and then, right?
Well, because we're really still in this situation where we have so many movies that have been made just dragging like a weight, down on their studios, because they can't be released because they're gonna flop. There is just no way they're going to make a profit. But these studios all owe money. I'm hearing that some of these movies, it costs them, for every week that the movie's not released, they're losing millions of dollars. Just in interest that has to be paid back on what they borrowed against it.
Oh my word, this is terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but anyway, would you go see a Margot Robbie helmed Pirates of the Caribbean spin-off movie, sequel / reboot?
Absolutely not if Johnny Depp's not in it. Okay. I have nothing against Margot Robbie being in it, even being the showrunner of the film, because I'll be honest with you, go back to the first Pirates of the Caribbean, Jack Sparrow wasn't the star of the movie. He was a supporting character. He was just the one that people remember the best.
That's true. He wasn't there. He was there as the anchor, kind of like when he was Tonto in the Lone Ranger movie.
Right.
Lone Ranger's the main character in that.
Right.
I did think that Dead Men Tell No Tales did kind of put an interesting ending on the whole series. Mm-hmm. You could treat it as an ending and we'd be fine. So maybe leave well enough alone.
They can't, though.
They're not going to do it.
They're not going to do it. They can't. So if they can't, then I'd be fine with him handing off the role, but he needs to be in it and actually do that and hand it off.
Okay. Well, apparently, though, the Fantastic Beasts petitions had 170,000 signatures, and the Change.org signature, last time I looked, it was 327,857 signatures to get Johnny Depp back in the series. So, okay.
The fans are on his side. I mean, if you care about what the fans think and you really want them to come buy tickets, maybe start paying attention to what they say. I'm just thinking,
Yeah.
But I've never accused Disney of being too brilliant in the business department in the past decade or so.
Is it me, or do you feel like when we were growing up during Hollywood, like when a movie would bomb and things, that the studios would actually take some lessons from that? Like when people were upset,
there was an expectation that you learn and make more money the next time. You don't make the same mistakes twice, and if you do, you're out on your butt. Nowadays, people just fail up somehow.
Sound engraver, leave well enough alone. Troy Pacelli, that sure sums up a lot of things these days. Oh, they can't do it.
I do it. Yeah,
she's quoting us. Okay,
and she's dead on. And I'm not just saying it because they're obstinate. I'm saying they're up against the wall and they can't. They literally can't. They have to put out, whatever IPs they own. If there's a way they can sell a toy or a lunchbox, they have to try because they're hurting.
Yeah, they said the merchandise we did last week. Whose merchandising sales were down? Oh, that was Warner. That was okay. That was I think that was Warner. Was it Disney?
Well, I don't remember. Marvel lost millions on their video game for their Avengers video game.
Yeah, that was a big disaster. Maybe we will have to cover that at some point. I don't know.
I haven't had a chance to really look too much into it, but my gut instinct is maybe the long stretch between Marvel films and the fact that the end game was kind of lackluster and there's not a great deal of promise for the future films has people going, okay, time to move on to something else.
Well, we'll see. It's on sale this Black Friday if you're interested. You might be able to get the PC version.
I'll pass.
Okay. All right. But moving on, I was telling Troy before the stream started that, when I say that if I'm ever praising Disney, it's because I think that they're the most competent of a lot of the studios out there. They strike me as the most competent. It doesn't mean that I necessarily think that they're the good guys either. And we have some doozies tonight. Okay.
Yeah.
This is Star Wars related news.
Yep.
And this has to do with Alan Dean Foster. Any of you know who the author Alan Dean Foster is?
He's an author that goes way back. Oh, yeah. He's the one that wrote, even before there was a sequel in mind for Star Wars. George Lucas approached him to write a novel that could be a sequel if a movie was never made. And thus came the first EU book, Splinter of the Mind's Eye. And he's done a lot of Star Wars books from there. He's done other stuff too. He's done Star Trek. He's done all sorts of
he's been
great stuff. Very good writer. He's written some of my favorite Star Wars books too.
It's going to sound terrible. I was surprised he was still alive. Actually, I was like, oh, there you go. Okay, I didn't realize he was still writing too. So
well, that kind of ties into this, right? Because Disney hasn't been working with him, so he might not be as much in the public eye as he used to be. Yeah, and there's a problem there.
The headline reads, this is Bounding in the Comics, Spencer Peculi writes, hope I said that right. Disney attempts to withhold royalty payments from veteran Star Wars author Alan Dean Foster as SFWA sparks hashtag at Disney must pay.
Yep.
Okay. And I'm sure we think they have to pay for a lot of things. But apparently, I see a picture of him here. He wrote the novelization of The Force Awakens.
Yep. That's true.
He probably made it better.
Yep. He also contributed to, or he also wrote the novelization for Aliens, I believe.
He did. That comes up in this article too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he did Aliens, and Alien 3. He did the novelizations for those. Mm-hmm. And apparently Disney, Lucasfilm, they're withholding royalties from Alan Dean Foster.
Yeah.
And SFWA president Mary Kowal she basically says, I normally in these types of proceedings, I don't name the name of who's doing it. We try to keep things, a little on the rest. But she said it's the big bad is Disney this time around. He'd written the original. Yeah, Al was right. He was the ghostwriter for the original novelization of Star Wars. So he's been at this for a while, and I guess the idea is these books are still selling even today. People may want to read the novelization of Star Wars. I mean, I've never read the novelization of Star Wars. I heard the radio show, and that expanded a lot on the movie. So I'm kind of curious if the novel does that as well, if there's stuff from the radio show in the novel. But apparently this novel is still selling well, but Disney has decided that they don't have to actually pay him royalties on it.
Well, here's the problem. See, between the original Star Wars, Splinter of the Mind's Eye, the Approaching Storm, which all predate Disney, buying Lucasfilm. As far as they're concerned, none of that stuff exists, right? Anything EU doesn't exist anymore. You heard Kathleen Kennedy. There are no books, to draw from. And the fact is, he still has a contract with Lucasfilm. You purchase Lucasfilm, that contract still exists. You still owe me royalties. And Disney goes, no, we don't. Sorry, Disney, that's not how contracts work. If it did, this would be a very different business world where anytime a company changes hands, suddenly all contracts are null and void. That's not how it works.
I am wondering if they're thinking they can pull a fast one over on him and saying, hey, sorry, when we bought Lucasfilm, that contract became null and void. Sorry, we don't owe you any royalties. And I'm thinking, like Peter S. Beagle, he ran into big trouble over, The Last Unicorn, the book.
Yep.
The movie they based on it.
Sure.
They were re-releasing it on home video and DVD. They weren't paying him royalties on it, and he was trying to make a point that his mom had cancer. And he ended up paying a lot of expenses out of pocket for that because the medical wouldn't cover. And he needed the money that was owed him, because I think a lot of the time people think, oh, this guy's a best-selling author, he has tons and tons of money. That's not the case. I think even Alan Dean Foster made a point that he had medical issues. His wife had as well, and
But I'll be honest with you, all of that stuff is completely irrelevant.
It doesn't actually. You're right.
I don't care if he's poor or if he's just buku rich. If you owe him, you owe him.
You owe him. It's the law. I understand. I'm trying to do this for the fact that
but I dig what you're saying. Sure.
Yeah, you're going to have naysayers out there saying he's already rich. He just wants more money, and I don't know why anyone wants to defend the big.
Well, yeah, socialists will say that absolutely.
Yeah. But the point is that these guys don't have as much money as you think they did. But even if he did, and even if he was like it's still his money. It's the law. They owe him this. And I'm thinking it's going to go to court. I'm going to be very interested to see how this turns out. I hope that I hope that the legal system errs on the side of justice here and gets Alan Dean Foster and any other writer or creative that gets ripped off their due. I mean, this is kind of a sad age. I mean, I have a comment here at the bottom. It's not really related to this, but I was like, don't even get me started on the horrors of the music industry right now, how musicians are treated. It's terrible what goes on.
Well, but that's been true since even before the digital age. I mean, where the studios would take all the money, and the only money there was to be made on these great hit records was if they went out and killed themselves on the road, performing constantly.
Yeah.
And then you wonder why some of these artists, succumb to their baser instincts, because they're just trying to find escapism from the hell they've ended up putting themselves in.
Yeah. And it's kind of a sad commentary on modern times that, I mean, I guess, but you've argued this is probably going on since time memoriam, but
yeah, I mean, the medium may have changed, but the business, theory has not changed at all.
Auditor Dread brings a point. He wrote the Thing novelization. That's interesting because he did the novelizations for the first three Alien movies as well. And actually, what I think's interesting about about this is that Disney also, as everyone knows, they bought 20th Century Fox.
Yep.
Well, when you buy 20th Century Fox, you also buy the novelizations that they released. That
it's a good
and
point. I
they're
wonder if
still selling.
those are. I wonder if those are part of the lawsuit as well.
I
wouldn't
don't
be
know. They could
surprised.
be a separate lawsuit for all we know. I don't know. Point is, Disney owes him money for the novels that they're selling
Yep.
that he wrote,
Yep,
and they're
yep.
not giving him money for them. I can understand if like Disney said, okay, we're not going to be releasing these things for sale anymore. That's a different story. But if they are making money off of that, they owe him a cut.
Well, and I would also, if I was his attorney, I'd say, well, it doesn't matter what you're going to do in the future. We're talking about the books that have sold already that you owe him for. See?
Yeah. And, Disney doesn't want to. I know they want this to go away. It's not going to go away. They need to settle up. But
and any other year, this probably would be pittance to them, and it would almost be worth settling out of court just to make it go away. This year, they can't afford to leave any money on the table. So they really do have to sit and weigh going to court and fighting it as opposed to paying out. And it could be a very close balancing act.
I believe studies have shown that people are now reading more during this pandemic than they have in years, which makes sense because there's not really a lot of new content coming elsewhere. But books.
And I honestly believe that more people are going back to the EU because they have been very dissatisfied with what Disney's been putting out. So people are rediscovering things like Splinter of the Mind's Eye and the horrific incest inferred by it.
Oh Lord, yes, I know. They mentioned that a minute ago. I'm a little horrified though. I just thought of something though. He wrote The Force Awakens for Disney, correct? The novelization,
I think, yeah. Keep in mind that when you do a novelization, it's not your fault. You're just taking a screenplay and turning it into a novel.
What if Disney, is it possible, and I'm thinking he would have caught this, obviously, but is it possible, like, since now the Chan's changed, that he could have signed a contract, or they would have tried having him sign a contract that said, we don't owe you money for previous works covered under Lucasfilm when you take this contract to write this book for us?
Don't know.
I don't know either.
Because I don't know the details of his contract, and that won't come out until it actually goes to court. I'll certainly be following it. I'll certainly be interested in seeing those kinds of things. But I can also tell you that because he didn't have the books that he is referring to that he has legal claim on are parts of contracts from before he, Lucasfilm and 20th Century Fox were bought by Disney. Usually contracts with Disney come with some sort of NDA, keep your mouth shut, gag orders.
Interesting.
He would not have signed those because they inherited him. He did not make an agreement with Disney. So they can't get it both ways, right? They can't say, well, it's owned by us now and we don't have an agreement with you. Oh, you don't have an agreement with us? Then I can say whatever I want. Right?
Exactly. Hey, that's always good to have, which means you can maybe hopefully get the public.
I just hope he's got a good representation. That is,
I'm sure he does. It looks like the Science Fiction Writers Guild are very interested in this because, of course, they want him. They're on his side too. That's very good that they're. I mean, I don't know where they've been in the past, but I'm glad they're on his side. Sound Engraver has a good comment here, though. My dad knew a composer who wrote for Disney. I can't remember his situation, but it was along the lines of his being contracted by Disney and having no license to any original music, even music which wasn't composed for Disney. That's terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
I remember there was an
always read your contracts, people.
Wasn't there
before you sign? Have an attorney go over it.
Wasn't there a Dilbert comic strip where he got let go from the company? So on his own, he wrote a dating. I think he created a dating search engine or something that would create your perfect dating profile based on your search results.
Uh-huh.
It was like a dating site, and it became really successful. And then they were like, "Hey, we're gonna prove that you wrote this while working for us." And they were trying to sue him. And Dilbert says, "Just hire me back for the company. I just want my job back."
Yeah.
Oh, okay. But that was how that got resolved. Because then. First they fire him, and then like he's just trying to make ends meet, so he comes up with this thing that makes money, and then suddenly the company now is interested in him and wants to take that from him.
Yeah. I know.
Just hire me back. This can all go away.
What makes it funny is how close that is to reality. It's absolutely true. But yeah, read your contracts before you sign them. Absolutely. And it's true. I mean, there's a lot of writing contracts that are like that too. I mean, especially for people that work in comic books and publishing and whatnot. You know, it's not uncommon for you to have anything you do, you know, while you're working for us is ours. And that means even when it's not specifically directly for any of our titles, you know, any writing you do outside, you're contracted to us. We own you. And if you sign that contract, I'm sorry, man, but you signed the contract.
Oh, good point. Back to the Draw Bird brings up. It's not as simple as not selling in the future. Authors are paid for when a retail store sells a copy of the book to make refunds simpler. He's owed for the stock in stores now when it sells.
Well, that's probably true. You know, I mean, I know comic book companies do it differently. For example, we force you, the outlet, to pay for it up front, and then we'll decide whether you can sell back to us what doesn't sell, and we've decided you can't sell it back to us. But you're right. There is this kind of an idea of a consignment sort of a situation.
I should know the answer to this, considering I used to work for a bookstore, but that was many moons ago.
Yeah. You order a number of books that you expect to sell based on the popularity of something,
right?
But it could sit on the shelves for a very long period of time.
We'll have 300 copies of Self Matters and 3 copies of the latest W.E.B. Griffith book.
And you probably have a certain amount of time to say, yeah, this didn't sell. It's not going to sell. We're sending it back and then get a refund on it.
Okay. Well, anyway, I hope he wins this.
I do too.
I don't think there's anything to win. The law should be on his side. So this is just, I don't know.
You know, along with that hashtag Disney must pay, it should be hashtag justice for Alan Dean Foster.
Justice for Alan Dean Foster. Yeah, they'll stick George Lucas with the bill.
Yeah, he'll say, yeah. Remember that $5 billion that took care of that. That's done.
Okay, but this next story though, should we get to the Clone Wars voice actor?
Absolutely. So, in other Star Wars news,
oh my goodness.
So let me go.
I got to pull this article up myself. I'm going to be reading from it. This is a.
So Star
I may be
Wars.
Conspiracy theorying on this one too, but we'll see.
Okay, well, we'll get into it. So Star Wars, the Clone Wars voice actor. What is it? James Arnold Taylor deletes his Parler account after internet mob takes offense at his shared content. Go ahead.
I'm glad I don't have a Parler account. Glad I don't know anyone who has a Parler account. Shame on him. This is where you say you have a Parler. No,
I do have a Parler account.
I do too. I'm not using it too much right now. But
I'll be honest with you. They give you more characters than Twitter does. So literally anything I share on my MeWe account, I can share on Parler too.
Yeah, and Rumble is looking more attractive to me too, but I'm doing more research on that. But this is from Bounding in the Comics, and James Arnold Taylor, you may know him as the voice actor who provided the voice for such iconic characters as Star Wars, The Clone Wars, Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yep.
And I guess he played Obi-Wan on Rebels too. Also Final Fantasy X's Titus.
Yep.
And I don't know if he's in the Ratchet and Clank games. I know he's supposed to be on the upcoming one. And apparently the internet mob was calling for his head recently, or at least his career. The mob first took note, according to the article, mob first took notice of Taylor on November 15th when a user on the infamous Reset Era forums opened a new topic featuring a headline accusing Taylor of quote unquote posting racist and COVID conspiracies on Parler. And they have some, I guess on Parler they call it echoes, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's the equivalent of a retweet.
Okay, so it's okay. And let me see. This is a username called Chibo. Okay. And he didn't like the fact that he retweeted. There was I believe a Chinese whistleblower that was saying that the beer bug as we know it actually did come from a lab. And I know that was making the rounds. I know that a lot of the major media sources.
So I know that our listeners are a little bit more tech savvy. I think, than some people out there. But you know, if forget Parler, pretend we're talking about Twitter. If you see something on Twitter and you reshare it, that doesn't necessarily mean you agree with it. It just means, hey, look at this thing. You could very easily be saying, hey, look how stupid these people are. You know, if I were to take and retweet something that Anita Sarkeesian had said, okay, you know that I'm not saying Anita Sarkeesian I agree with. I'm saying, would you look at this dumb see you next Tuesday?
There, yeah. Well, we'll get to her, yes.
Yeah, I'm just planting a seed.
In this one, it said, though, echo if you stand with Li Meng Yang. So I guess the mob took it as he did stand with her, okay?
Right.
Which
is not what he said.
Yeah. And,
I don't know where he stands on this, and I got to be honest with you, I don't care. I really don't care what his opinion is, but they made assumptions about what he meant by sharing this, and then they jump all over him because he even had an account on Parler.
Yeah.
Because he must be an alt-right Yahtzee because he's on this free speech platform.
Yeah. Casey Scott brings up a good point. This story gets better, though. He brings up NFL ratings crash. Okay, 23% since last year. Well, that's true. And, of course, people are blaming it because they're pushing politics and something that didn't used to push politics. It just, you know. Yeah. And then, of course, he had another one where he said how much he loves the American flag. Boo. Okay.
Yeah.
And
well, I'm Casey. I'm sorry. I know he tried to say that, but it's a bunch of BS because he canceled his Parler account. You can't do that if it's not your account. I'm sorry, simple math there. How does he even have access to it to shut it down if it wasn't his and he didn't do it?
Yeah.
It's people that don't know how technology works.
Yes. Anyways, this.
Oh, I agree with you 100%, Brian Gilmartin. I'm not saying I would do that. I'm just saying, you know, okay. if someone did that, you know.
Okay. I have 3 pages of notes here on this. All right.
Okay, so this is our last topic for the night, people.
No. I argued I could probably go on for this for like 2 hours. This is all over the place. Okay. I was trying to figure out what is going on, what is being said here in this article. It's not the fault of the article. It's the fact that, okay, so James Arnold Taylor, I thought, was denying the fact that he was these nasty things they said about him. Mm-hmm. Well, I don't think that any of those tweets necessarily mean you are any of those things. Okay? Right. I mean, supporting the flag, I that's just patriotic.
Right.
But you know,
which makes him an alt-right Yahtzee.
And he's also labeled himself as a Christian too. So
forget it then. He's a Christian. He's absolutely evil and deserves to be doxxed for that.
Oh my word! And I kept thinking that's what's going on here. This is the unbalanced people of Reset Era who are scary in their own right coming after him. But then the story gets more interesting. He goes on and makes a tweet. Twitter, the good platform that's the only one you can use. Okay.
Yeah.
You know, and he does this long thing saying, I don't know who posted those things. It wasn't me.
Yeah.
It wasn't me. And you're calling BS on this, right?
I kind of am.
Yes.
Well, there's only 2 possibilities. Either he's lying or he's ignorant of how these things work. He's a complete Luddite, which may very well be the case because some of the things that he said lead me to believe he's kind of clueless. He didn't know what was going on. You know, the whole thing about, you know, he's got a Parler account. He's alt-right. And he's like, I just heard there was another social media thing out there. So I posted on it. You know, he's you know, an aspiring celebrity. He's trying to make use of social media. He didn't know that the SJW Gestapo was you know gonna blacklist anybody who went on Parler.
Yeah,
you know,
and Brian Gilmartin questions if he's a Christian. It was in the description on his Parler account, which may or may not be real. Of course, he was on Parler, but now he's saying he didn't make those posts. Mark Hamill chimes in. Okay.
Yes. Oh yeah. Oh, and before you quote it
Sure.
and give your take on it, I do have to say that I've seen what Mark Hamill posted, and I've heard commentaries on what he said, and I've literally heard commentaries interpreted two completely opposite ways.
Huh.
Yeah. So go ahead.
Want me to read it and then you'll
Yeah,
give the
please.
descriptions? Okay. Anyone who knows you knows that the anyone who knows you knows
Yeah,
that these
punctuation, Mark, use it.
anyone who knows you knows that these accusations are untrue. Beware of Parler, a self-described quote unquote pro free speech website that promises not to fact check content, as Facebook and Twitter increasingly remove or flag viral fake news and misinformation. There's something wrong with that sentence. Anyway, fact checking is
There's
important.
a lot wrong with that sentence. I'll get to it in a second.
Have the professor diagram it for us. Okay. Anyway, go ahead. But
So I've literally heard it both ways. On the one hand, I've heard that Mark Hamill that same tweet, okay, was interpreted as Mark Hamill chastising him for getting a Parler account, and basically the social justice line: you shouldn't be on Parler because that makes you a Yahtzee. But the other side is, you know, I know you. Anyone who knows you knows that you're not like this.
yeah,
And I think that was the intent, but it does come off the other way too.
I see it as both. I see it as
I
I
know
know,
you're not, but you need to get off of Parler because that's wrong. Think
like, you're still wrong for going on
yeah,
Parler, but I don't
exactly.
think that you made those tweets. But you're still wrong for going on Parler. I don't think you should be destroyed over it, but maybe a slap on the wrist. That's
And of
sort of what it
course,
reminds me of.
you need to be on the platform that regulates the speech and doesn't let any bad thing get out.
Yeah. Yeah, yes, and bad thing. That's interesting. You bring that up. Oh, I like Sound Engraver. Any social media that isn't the main media is immediately called alt right.
Yep.
Yes, pretty much that's where we are. But I have a theory as to what's going on. Oh yeah, he goes. I've not said I don't have a Parler account. I said whatever is showing up on it isn't mine. So are you saying that just because I have an account, these things are true? And he just got rid of his account, and
because but see, the other thing too is you don't see what is said to him behind the scenes off of social media.
oh, I'm going to get to that.
I'm willing to bet that there's somebody there telling him, get rid of it, get rid of Parler, because just having it tells everybody you're an alt-right Yahtzee and deserving of, scorn.
I have a little more sinister reasoning behind this too, but his last name was, well, I can't find those there. He's saying, people are saying those were there, and he says, no, I don't remember doing it. I can't find those there, and to avoid any further trouble, I've deleted my account.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't the platform I hoped it to be anyways. It was all political, and no one seemed interested in my posts about Star Wars and such anyways. Okay. This all sounds very fishy to me, okay?
Yeah.
And I have my own theory, okay?
Sure.
I think I was writing in fact, I basically have the same exact, I pretty much have the same thing Soundograph had to write. Anyone that disagrees with the far left is far right, okay? Reposts, okay. Okay, so let's see. What are the three things he posts? Reposts were of a apparent Chinese whistleblower, if you believe her story. Criticism of the NFL's preaching of social justice, and the fact that users took issues with his patriotism and the American flag. Yep. Okay, which is completely ridiculous to me, that third one. But this is what I think is going on.
Well, don't you know that the United States is evil? It was built on slavery.
Yes.
Don't you know that?
Yeah, I know that the flag is bad. Yes.
Yeah.
Today they hate certain flags one day and then they hate more flags the next day. Anyway, Taylor accused this user of slander, but of course, basically, this is what I came to the conclusion of. I kept writing different things down. They're going after him because he's a Christian.
Mm-hmm.
Then he says the poster, and I'm like making notes. What is going on here? He's denying he echoed those posts, and then finally I write down CCP ? And I have on the back, this is what I'm thinking could have happened. And I'm not saying this did happen. I have no proof. It's a theory. There is no proof. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, I do think that Taylor did echo those posts, and he might have even agreed with the sentiments. Okay. And I think someone either working for the CCP or someone sympathetic to the CCP, you know what I mean by CCP,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
The China, a certain government overseas.
Mhm.
And I think they did not like him echoing that thing about the whistleblower. And I think they decide, let's go on this forum that's known for housing all of these radical SJW types, and we'll pretend to be one of them and kind of chastise this actor publicly, and we'll call him all these horrible names that the SJWs call people, and we'll sneak that one of the reasons he is because he's buying into this theory that the beer bug was created in a lab. Okay?
Well, that's the one part of this. You and I talked about this in the green room, but I don't think we've talked about it on air yet. What is that platform that you're talking about? That the SJWs
Reset Era.
There you go.
I don't know too much about it. I've heard horror stories about it, how they've done a lot of messed up things in gaming. I would have more. I know I've heard their name come up before in doing disastrous things. Because I watch gaming channels. They're usually the cause of causing up ruckus. But what I think is going on here though is I don't know if this was some kid's school project over in China to show loyalty to the country by let's do a project. Let's harass a B-list celebrity over in the United States and get him to apologize and recant and not say anything bad about the Chinese government. Because I'm sorry, and maybe I'm completely off on this, but it just seems that we have those other stories like the patriotism, the NFL story, but then we have that story about the whistleblower, and I'm just thinking, would the SJWs get up in arms about that in addition to those other things? I just don't know, because it strikes me as
I'm not gonna say that it's not, and I'm not gonna say you're wrong.
Yeah.
But it's. I tend to be an Occam's razor kind of guy.
Mm-hmm.
We are talking about social media. Any one of his things could have been discovered by somebody, shared with someone else. Hey, did you see this? It blows up, goes viral. I mean, they get a hold of it, and the mob comes for you.
I guess so.
I mean, whether your theory is true or not doesn't matter.
I'm just wondering if it was someone over there that was instigating the mob over here because they didn't like this tweet, and I could be wrong.
But here's the thing, though. It happened, and it's a question of how you react to it. And then you have him backing down and not exactly apologizing, but denying, just deny, and closing down his account. Right.
Yeah.
And then you have people like Cardoon, right? Gina Carano, who is constantly being harassed on social media, and she just does not give a flying fig. She continues to poke at people on Twitter, and then she starts a Parler account, and she starts, whatever, and posts there too, and says you can find me there as well. And she just says whatever is on her mind.
And it's okay, and she does. And apparently Disney doesn't come after her, right?
As far as we've heard, Disney has been silent on Gina Carano.
Because I think they got to him. I think this good friend Mark Howell says, we'll let you dial this back and we'll pretend it didn't happen.
See, I don't think
I don't know.
Anyone from Disney specifically said anything to him. I think it's his peers who pressured him into getting rid of his.
Okay, so no one officially from the company, but maybe Mark Hamill gives him a ring.
Whereas Gina Carano, I don't think anyone could pressure her into anything. She's going to tell you where you can go. And if you don't go, she'll show you how to get there.
Yeah, she's like a real life Wonder Woman, actually, if you think about it.
She would have been perfectly cast as Wonder Woman.
Oh, yeah, they should have.
I mean, if she could do the blonde thing, I could see her as Power Girl. She would be perfectly cast. But I don't know. I don't know, man. But she's one who she came out of MMA. She is a fighter, and that is true. Body, mind, and spirit. She is a fighter. That's what I really want to see her do. I want to see her be a Klingon. She would make an awesome Klingon.
She would be an awesome, yes.
Yup.
Oh, I'd love to see her as a Klingon.
She would rock it.
That would be cool.
And then meanwhile, in the middle of all this, we got Kurt Russell basically saying celebrities need to shut the F up. Stop with the tweeting. Stop with the politics. Your job is to act. He basically said, I see myself as a court jester. That's a noble profession, but that's my responsibility. It is not my role to be political. It is my role to entertain. And would you believe that on the right, people are going, yeah, that's pretty fair. The social justice warriors, he's a Nazi. Okay, great.
You just demonetized my stream.
You realize it's a live stream. It's
I know. That's right.
Really eligible for monetization anyway. You can always bleep it if you decide to put this segment out, and it can still be monetized.
She's and we'll do the transfer over then.
Yeah, exactly.
Actually, I liked how I use the. Well, I'm getting off track here.
He's a German National Socialist.
Yeah, maybe so. That word socialism, it has often carries with it a bad connotation. Anyway, yeah, you're welcome, Sound Engraver. She was blowing off some steam on Twitter yesterday. And Melissa says, I'm sick and tired of identity politics, political correctness, and forced diversity garbage ruining my escapist entertainment.
Right.
Well, apparently Kurt Russell, I think, is kind of saying that people need to take a chill pill too.
Yeah.
And he's
totally over it. I mean, he doesn't have any F's to give. He's just, but see, at the same time, that is a very, he hasn't said that he has any political, points of view or anything, so a studio should be able to go, okay, good. We know he's not going to go shooting off his mouth. He should be pretty safe. Right.
Yeah. I wonder if he's libertarian. I don't know if I read that somewhere, but maybe he's not. I'm just trying to think.
I would love to find that. I mean, it's really none of my business, but
no,
I would respect him that much more if that's true.
But I've always liked Kurt Russell. Even in he was. Did you see Deepwater Horizon? He was in that. That was a great movie of the last decade. That was about the BP oil spill. Great movie. I highly recommend it. And he was one of the engineers telling them, yeah, you need to do the proper test before you drill in this spot. And do you think they listened to him?
No, of course not. I'm at the point, though, where it sucks. I really don't want to know a celebrity's politics. I would prefer not to know. I would prefer to be able to be a fan of your work. And because as soon as I know, what your political point of view is, even then I could be fine with it. But you start shooting off your mouth and condemning me for my political beliefs. Well, it's hard for me to respect that because you don't respect me, and now I don't want to see any of your movies. It's the Brie Larson effect. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
But back to the drawing board. Kurt Russell is old school enough. He will probably never let his politics show outside of maybe donations to campaigns. Yeah, that's true. If you do a donation to a campaign, that has to be declared legally, unless you're Russian. Yeah, exactly.
Cool. All right. But
that is social media and the cesspool that it is.
Yes.
Heaven forbid, someone preserve us, for crying out loud. So should we turn our sights on Warner Brothers and DC Comics?
Yeah. Now I know we had some of the articles from last week, but I think these are follow-ups, right?
Exactly. So and just helping you out, Boomer, as your sidekick here. I give you notes, but I have those grayed out because those were the ones from last week, so that I can say last week we talked about a new round of layoffs at DC Comics. This week we're looking at what's behind Warner Media's marketing executive exodus.
I thought those were highlights.
Oh, no. If it was yellow, that would be a highlight. If it's grayed out,
right. Now I understand.
Put it to the background. Okay. I see. This is what I said. When I send you notes, something doesn't always come through. Sometimes it's better for us to talk it through.
Yeah, we're fine. We're fine though. I figured these were follow-up stories anyway. I got that impression.
Yeah.
But
So,
yeah, you want to go ahead and take the field on this first one?
I actually don't even know too much about these marketing executives, but I don't know. I whenever I see an article like this, I kind of think the analogy is the rats leaving a sinking ship. I mean,
yeah, the quote from the article is the spin from Warner Media is that some of the executives involved in this exodus did so of their own accord.
yep.
And that their departments were entirely organic. Their exits, they maintain, had little to do with the significant number of layoffs being enacted by the company.
Yep.
What do you think?
I think I feel like taking it at face value and saying, yep. And if I was in that position, I'd be getting out of there too.
Oh, I see. I'm trying to find another job.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't want to go down with this ship. I think I'll be a greeter at Walmart.
Yeah. Well, do Walmart still have greeters? During
yeah. We were just at Walmart yesterday, and someone said hi to us. I assumed they worked there. And would you believe there was somebody outside ringing the bell for Salvation Army? I'd put $1 in the can because I didn't have any cash. I had to get $1 from Netter. Who carries cash these days? And if they had some sort of a swipe card thing at the little tin for the Salvation Army, it wouldn't be the same. It wouldn't feel the same,
It would not. Oh, back to the drawing board says, not to get ahead of you guys, but is the armor is a female fashion statement
on tap this week? Do you want to address that? We talked about it backstage a little bit.
You want to jump into it right now since
we might as well. As long as before we get too far into the weeds on Warner Brothers, we'll step back to Star Wars. So the interwebs blew up when Bo-Katan made her return in The Mandalorian, and played by Katie Sackhoff, the same actress who did her voice in the Clone Wars and Rebels, looking perfect. I mean, because the artists used Katie Sackhoff as their muse when they put the character together, and she looked just like she came out of the cartoon. Her hair didn't lay quite as flat as the cartoon character, but I mean, you got to deal with real world physics when you go live action, right? Other than that, she looked just like the character from Clone Wars. Well, suddenly the interwebs blow up about boob armor because she's got, Mandalorian armor that fits her form, and therefore this is a big SJW sacrilege. And without even getting too into it and looking too far into it and where it started, I said, okay, so these are a bunch of people who have no idea how armor works, have no idea about history of real world armor, and have never seen an episode of the Clone Wars or Rebels. Because if they did, they would be having this discussion back then, not now. And then come to find out, guess who it is who had to throw her 2 cents into it?
It was Anita Sarkeesian.
Anita Sarkeesian, exactly. We should have our mouths. I can't say the National Socialist Party word, but I can say that on that's an even worse word. But
yes. What was it? Someone even mentioned earlier, it was Brian Gilmartin or Leia Plus Size. One of them said that they don't even like giving her attention, but she seeks it out. And I kept saying when I saw this post says, "Oh, it's fundraising time again."
Yeah,
Cause
exactly. Auditor Dredd just said that Anita Sarkeesian's a little slow. She doesn't know much about female anatomy. She is too busy complaining about things she doesn't know. He's probably making a reference to the whole gamer thing too.
Oh yeah,
but that's exactly it. And so I guess I haven't actually seen it firsthand, but I guess she got a lot of backlash from a lot of women saying, you don't know what the F you're talking about, girl. You need to stay in your lane because you have no idea what you're talking about. And Shad from Shadiversity put out his third video about boob armor. In fact, he starts it out in a very humorous way. He says, "I sense a great disturbance in the YouTube algorithms," and then he shows the statistics for his boob armor, his two previous boob armor videos shooting up suddenly in the past couple days. And he says, "In all seriousness, I want to thank all of you for, tagging and sharing my videos. They've blown up in the past 24 hours. I guess someone must have said something stupid on social media." And then, of course, he goes into the opening of his show, and then he goes, "Greetings, I'm Shad," and he begins to recount the whole thing about boob armor and the history of it, and how it was a real thing, and how there is value to it, and why it makes perfect sense. And anyone who's telling you otherwise is, well, he's a Christian and he wouldn't say it this way, but I'll say it. They're morons who don't know what the F they're talking about.
Okay. But so boob armor gets clicks. That's good to know. Okay.
Because people actually care about things related to armor and history. I mean, there is a real world history. I'm sorry. I know we live in a world that wants to rewrite history to reform it into the image of the way we think things ought to be. But unfortunately, that's not the world that we live in. Things actually happened, and we know about it.
Yeah.
We have in fact we haven't. I laughed because one of the responses on social media, someone took a picture of some ancient Indian armor from the Asian medieval period,
right,
and it was definitely female boob armor, and we're talking boob armor like Joel Schumacher Batman armor, if you follow my meaning. Like the armor was very, very cold, and you're see. This is historic. This is in a freaking museum, and you're getting bent out of shape about the Mandalorian armor that vaguely forms to the female contours. Really?
I will search for that later. Do you remember, though, when Force Awakens came out? I think I was talking to you about this earlier, how Captain Phasmis and some guy was complaining that her armor didn't have, wasn't the form-fitting armor that he was expecting. And I think that Josh Whedon jumped down, not Josh Whedon, J.J. Abrams jumped down his throat about it. And I guess they had to make her armor very rounded so that it would be semi-comfortable as a...
Okay.
Trooper. Okay.
There's a couple things about Phasma, right? I mean, first, whatever their reason for doing it that way. See, again, just because boob armor is a historic thing doesn't mean it has to be, because there's also plenty of historical examples of women wearing men's armor, and it's perfectly reasonable, and you can absolutely get away with it. Look, there are plenty of women who are not overly endowed in the upper chesticle area, so they would have no reason to wear large boob enhancing armor unless it was for some sort of cosmetic reason. One of the things that Shad from Shadiversity goes into is the fact that there's all kinds of stuff on armor that has nothing to do with protection and everything to do with aesthetics, making your shoulders look bigger, your waist look smaller. Back in the days when men wore cod pieces, and that was a normal part of style. The armor had the big old honking, that has nothing to do with keeping you in your saddle, So sometimes it's just about what was considered to be appropriate for the aesthetic of the time, and there has never been a time in history where the female breast was not augmented as representing femininity. That's just how it is. Sorry, modern day feminists, but history is reality, and reality sucks for you. Doesn't fit your schema and the way you think things ought to be.
Until they get a lot of donated money and they get to take trips to Abu Dhabi or wherever she's going. Oh wait, no, it was Morocco. My mistake.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry.
But so that's what the whole boob armor thing was about in the Mandalorian, and it's a bunch of nothing. And yeah, I mean, I think the first person who would have said something would have been Katie Sackhoff herself, if that's not what her character looked like all those years in the cartoon, because she was intimately, involved in that character. She would have been the first one to say, "Why does my character look completely different? Why'd you give her boobs? This was not a thing for her," you know?
It's people are. This is someone making a mountain out of a molehill because they need attention, I think. But
Leia plus size is right on there. You're absolutely right. SJWs want to blur the line between the genders, because remember, you could be either one, whatever you feel like that day. When you wake up in the morning and you say, "Hey, man, I feel like a woman," I mean,
well, I don't say that.
no, I know that, but and then heck, look at Marvel Comics artists these days drawing Captain Marvel to look like an 8th grade art project, but that's beside the point.
Oh, was that on International Men's Day too? I think that happened.
I have no idea.
I don't know. I don't know if that was related to it. Anyway, well, that's our take on the boob armor. I'm sure this will be an ongoing controversy over the next few weeks, right?
Yeah. Okay. And so, just real quick, Marvel Media Marketing getting out while the getting's good, but I think the bigger part is the next article. Again, referring back to last.
You mean DC Marketing getting out?
Did I say Marvel?
I Marvel.
I meant DC, because I meant Warner Bros.
I'm sure that might be happening too.
Well, yeah, we'll get to them. Well, not this week, but yeah, we'll talk about them sometime. But more importantly, I want to touch real quickly on a couple pieces that we talked about last week, because we got to do an update. AT&T can't even give away HBO Max. We said that last week. We also pointed out Wonder Woman 1984, Warner Brothers considering limited theatrical release before HBO Max debut, right? Well, this week we get an update on that. And it turns out that in fact, what they are doing is Wonder Woman 1984 will be released on HBO Max the same day it is in theaters for no extra cost. And that day is Christmas Day, December 25th.
This is interesting to me, because you notice how the rumor kept slightly changing. First, it was limited theatrical run before it went to HBO Max, or before it goes to streaming. And now it's going directly day and date. It will be a 1-month exclusive on HBO Max. Christmas Day, and then it's going to get taken off HBO Max. It's going to remain in the theaters longer than that, and then it's going to go to the normal thing where you can rent it on streaming, DVD, Blu-ray releases. Then it will get kicked back to HBO Max after the normal period is over.
The cinema industry is taking this as the final nail in the coffin for them. This, between Tenet and the theaters, and the further delays of James Bond, this was their last hope. This is what the theaters have been waiting for. And you're telling me that on Christmas Day it's being released, and it's being released in your home as well as at the theater? Who's going to go to the theater to see it if they already subscribe to Disney Plus?
You mean HBO Max?
What did I say?
Yeah. Plus.
I'm sorry. I'm still on the Disney thing.
That may happen one day. Wonder Woman may be on Disney Plus when Disney buys up everything.
I'm sorry. I meant HBO
after Warner Brothers collapses. Okay. Yeah. Anyway. Okay. But
right. So if you already have HBO Max, you're watching it for free. You're not going to the theater to see it.
Guess what? Guess who got himself? Apparently, I have to look in my email, but I bought an HBO series on DVD for $9.99, and apparently one of the bonuses during this Black Friday special was 2 free weeks of HBO Max. So if I so choose, I could just redeem it on Christmas probably and watch Wonder Woman and then not to pay a penny.
if you want. It's not worth the bandwidth.
And this made me think, though. This made me think: is that their thing? Are they just? Why are they doing this? And I'm starting to remember. Remember last week we were talking about how they are trying to prop up HBO Max. Are they going to make any money off of this? Because if
No.
me and everybody else just cashes in or checks in their free like 5-day trial or 2-week trial or whatever for Wonder Woman 84, and then they cancel immediately after they watch it, what have they gained? Unless HBO Max then gets to say, look at all these subscribers we got before the end of the new year.
You hit the nail on the head there.
Yeah.
I mean, this all goes, none of this stuff exists in a vacuum. You got to connect all the dots. That's why I wanted to reference what we talked about last week. AT&T can't give away HBO Max. So the only thing they can do is try to show some value and then maybe sell it. See? And I think that's exactly what they're trying to do. They're trying to gin up the numbers. Just the way we've been talking about Disney doing and CBS doing. All these streaming services are ginning up their numbers to try and look good to investors. And with Wonder Woman, they cannot wait anymore. Okay. They had been planning to have this out already. This was supposed to be in advance of the election because this was supposed to be their, shot at Donald Trump. If they put it out after, inauguration day, it's old news. It's already dated, which what?
Are you saying the villain in this is based off of
oh, absolutely. They've outright said it. Yeah. Yeah. Maxwell Lord is made to look just like Donald Trump.
And Pedro Pascal was playing him.
Oh, jeez.
You didn't know that?
No.
Yes. And he of course was getting into it a few weeks ago too.
Yeah. So tell me that's not directly related there. So, but yeah, so they've already but again, this comes down to the same thing that I was saying before about how they're losing like $1 million every week that they hold off on releasing it. They need to release it. They cannot afford not to.
Well, Leia Plus, I has a comment. I don't have HBO Max, so I have to miss it. Well, Leia, though, they are releasing this in theaters along with HBO Max, so you could still go and pay your $15 for whatever the ticket or whatever they're charging, but or you could just pay $15 for HBO Max.
And the fact is, by doing that, you would at least be supporting your local theater.
Yeah.
Go make sure you go and you buy some popcorn and soda though, because they're not going to make any money off of the ticket sales.
And some Raisinets. Raisinets are nice.
Yeah.
Caps and goobers and all that good stuff.
But I'll tell you, the critical drinker just did a video on this, and you know how he is. He's sharp and witty, but he makes a great point. This is going to be an absolute freaking flop. It's gonna flop, and it's not just this. There's a lot of other baggage that's going into this movie that's gonna kill this movie. It's gonna crash and burn.
Yeah, I'm wondering if even despite the fact that put this on HBO Max, if even the people that get the free stuff aren't going to care enough. Because I'm wondering if what causes people to go see a movie by this studio and a movie by that studio is not the same reasoning as that I'm going to subscribe to this streaming service and that streaming service, that it's a completely different animal.
Yeah.
And just because Wonder Woman's on there, it's not enough for me to just subscribe to your whole channel, your whole streaming service.
Well, I mean, there's that Justice League miniseries they're doing.
I had a note here, and I was wondering, why are they doing this? And I'm thinking the Snyder Cut isn't cutting it. I'm wondering if people are that interested in this, or if it's not going to be ready in time before the end of the new year. I guess The Witches did nothing. Did anybody watch The Witches?
I did not. We talked about the little dust-up scandal about it. A lot of speculation that all of that was just, again, trying to gin up some interest in the movie, kind of pull a Streisand effect. Okay, now that we've heard all about this, let's go see it. But everybody who's reviewed it said it was terrible, that it was not a good movie.
Okay.
Completely in having nothing to do with any of the, controversies about it. It's they're not doing well there at all.
So So speaking of HBO Max, though, there's also the upcoming Batman TV series, right? Well,
Yeah,
the Batman TV series that's not really about Batman.
right. Exactly. I guess it's I don't know, what is it? CSI Gotham, something like that.
Yeah, but there were some problems. I'm going to pull up that
Yeah.
article.
So it turns out that they were going to do a spin-off uh, show about yeah, it was going to be about the police force in Gotham City or whatever, but the showrunner has left due to creative differences. That's always a bad sign, you
Yeah, it
know.
was the creative people behind Boardwalk Empire, I believe.
Mhm.
Okay, I used to be a huge fan of Boardwalk Empire,
Yeah, I love that show.
but I think it kind of petered out in that final season. But maybe people disagree. But
And I struggled with it because I, knew the history, of the real characters that those were based on. I was like, okay, these are clearly fictionalized versions of these characters. They didn't even, have the exact same names. So
I know. I mean, I know with with the main character, he was based on a real character, but that
yeah,
wasn't his exact name. Yeah,
yeah.
but uh, Lucky Thompson, I think, or is it Nucky Thompson on the? I think in the real world one was Lucky, and on the show it was Nucky. I think.
Exactly.
Okay, yeah,
Exactly.
that's
They
what they
purposely
changed.
changed his name, and I mean, for me, that's all it takes. That is the writers and the showrunners, giving a wink and a nod to me and saying, "Don't take this too seriously. This isn't meant to be historically accurate." And I
Yeah.
go, "Okay, it's fiction. I can live with it, based on history, and I can enjoy it."
Yeah, but the final season didn't have Rothstein on it though, because it took place during the Depression, and of course by that point Rothstein was no longer in this world, but
Exactly.
probably in a worse world actually. But I'm not going to judge. But
Good point.
he was the most interesting gangster on that show to me. The because I don't know, he was weird because he anyway. I'm getting off on a tangent. We're trying to talk about the Batman show, but yeah, I don't
But
know why. Okay,
yeah, that tells me that I mean, you got, again, these things do not exist in a vacuum. Why are they doing this? So bringing Wonder Woman on, is Justice League not enough? They're having problems with this Batman series. What's going on over there at Warner Brothers, HBO Max? But you know what? It could be that none of this is even going to matter pretty soon, right? Because DC Comics will be closing down in June, says a rumor.
yeah,
I don't know why we buried the lead on this one. DC Comics is
I
rumored
thought we were
to
saving
be
the best.
closing down. Yeah, this is the last one on
I
Warner
thought we were
Brothers.
saving the best for last. That's why it was at the
Oh,
end.
okay. That's why we
Not the
buried the
best
lead.
for last, the most interesting for last. But yeah, go ahead and repeat it though. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah, DC Comics will close down in June. Now, I saw this. This was a last minute addition to the notes. And there's the article. Go and read it. But I did a little investigative journalism myself. I went to an expert, my local comic book shop, and asked Keith from Keith's Comics. I said to him, "Keith, what's your take on this?" And he goes, "I don't know." He says, "We've been speculating the comic book companies are going to go out of business anyway for the longest time." He says, "But it's just one guy saying this, and everyone's picking it up and running with it." So, in other words, it's kind of like when Doomcock says, "It's a rumor. I cannot substantiate it. I don't have any secondary source, so take it with a grain of salt." And I think that's kind of what Keith was saying too. You gotta take it for what it's worth. It's one guy saying this, but when you put it up against the predictions that other insiders have been making, Ethan and so many others, there could be some juice behind this. It could be that all these other things that we've been reporting about DC Comics and the firings and the bloodbaths and all of that, it's entirely possible that the comic book side of DC Comics could be going out of business to a degree.
No,
So here's Keith's theory on it.
Mhm.
Okay. Keith thinks that if DC Comics proper does close down shop, remember these IPs are owned by Warner Brothers. Okay. Warner Brothers could just license these characters out to other comic book companies, which is, again, something that Ethan has been speculating for a long time. So who knows? We'll see.
And it was Ethan Van Sciver who had originally he still has people on the inside over there who had reported on this. Now he did say himself that it is an unverifiable tip.
Yeah.
For now, it's only a rumor, but it does seem to.
And that's the hard thing because you kind of trust the person that's sharing the information.
Well,
but his source is one source, and he just can't cite that source. He can't say who his source is because they could lose their jobs. You know.
He knows comics. He was in the industry for a long time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I
when he says he's a comic insider pro, he's
definitely
he definitely is. Yeah.
But yeah, and we'll see what's going on here.
That's big though.
I'm wondering too what's going to be happening in the new year with if there are going to be more lockdowns. This is probably hurting comic book shops. Are they even bothering with comic book shops at this point? I feel like they were trying to go digital only, or at least they were trying to push that.
Yeah, and that's not working.
Yeah, and
no. Where the money is actually coming from for comics is the reprints and the trades. Those are still selling, and people still want those physically. Yeah. IDW is one of the ones, Auditor Dread, that they'd be looking at probably. Marvel's been using them for comics too. Yeah. Who knows? The point is, and this is something I was saying to Keith in my speculation. I said Warner Brothers is going to continue to own the characters. You know, Disney's going to continue to own Marvel's characters. There's got to be publishing of these characters, or you lose the rights. They'll fall into obscurity and into public domain if they're not published, right? That's what happened with the Fawcett, some of the Fawcett characters. That's why the Captain Marvel name fell from Fawcett Comics and went over to Marvel, and that's why you have the whole Captain Marvel Shazam thing.
I am going to say this though, at some point, shouldn't Superman and Batman become public domain? These are iconic American characters. I understood that a lot of the thing with the royalties was to protect authors and their families and make sure they didn't get ripped off. But this is like in perpetuity now. I know that they revised all this stuff.
You make an excellent point, but I can speak to that.
But like Sherlock Holmes is public domain. At one point, it was not. He was not. Okay.
But keep in mind, okay, there is the difference between copyright and trademark. Okay.
Yeah.
Trade, you'll see it at the bottom of all the comics. Superman, the S Shield, all of these things are registered trademarks of DC Comics. Those don't ever fall into public domain.
I think Disney was able to do that with Mickey Mouse's ears, right? They make that a trademark, I think.
Exactly. But that gets into it. Now we're talking about a very specific thing. What is trademarked and what isn't? So that Superman that was released in 1936? Was that when Superman was released? Action Comics #1? Anyway, the S Shield, right? Boomer, you hearing me?
I'm hearing you. Yeah,
okay,
the S Shield. Yes.
Okay. I didn't hear you respond back. So
Stands
I just wanted
for
to make
hope,
sure
according to Henry Cavill. Okay, all right.
So that S Shield, that's the upside down triangle, know, and he's got the short shoes and he's got the briefs and all that. Okay, that and those stories from the 30s are actually about to drop into the public domain. So in theory,
oh, interesting.
Yeah, so in theory, you could pick those up and make copies of them and publish them and republish them, and you could probably even write stories that take place with Superman working at the Daily Star under,
and he can leap tall buildings in a single bound. He just can't
couldn't fly. Exactly.
Okay, all right,
all that kind of stuff. So, and I don't know this for sure, this is pure speculation on my part, but I wonder if the New 52 wasn't in part to try and establish a new trademark for these characters. Possibly. With Superman without the briefs and in armor and all this. I don't know. All I'm saying is, and the same is true with Mickey. The original black and white Mickey is about to drop into public domain. That's why there was a brief recent spike of merchandising by Disney with all of the Steamboat Willie stuff, because they're not going to be able to, corner the market on that iteration of the character anymore pretty soon.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But yeah, a trademark can be held by a company because they have to, right? You can't, for example, the McDonald's Golden Arches, that can't ever fall into the public domain. There'd be brand confusion. And you could pull into a restaurant, with Golden Arches thinking you're pulling into McDonald's, and, then you go to sue McDonald's and go, well, that's not one of our franchisees, Yeah, there's very specific reasons why trademark exists. So yeah, so that's the situation there. But yeah, they do have to continue to upkeep even a trademark, because if you don't, it will fall into. And I honestly believe that's why people joke about Captain Marvel and how she gets like 6 issues and then they cancel it and then put out a new series. It's because they don't care how she sells. They just need to keep the series going and keep her publishing so that they never lose the Captain Marvel name. It's Marvel Comics. That means something to them.
I'd have to imagine that's like what is it? That's the thing you stick the new person on.
Yeah.
But yeah, back to Troy Pacelli. Public domain isn't really a thing that applies in the hands of major media companies. Oh, I know they don't like it. In fact, Troy was bringing up a point too with Superman. You know how we were mentioning how you could do the old Superman, but you can't use the more iconic look that we know about. Same could go for Sherlock Holmes. They might try to reinvent, like the BBC Sherlock has a specific look, actor.
Yeah.
And that's this Sherlock, and that's what you're trying to sell, not necessarily.
But yeah, when you talk about those kinds of characters, there's never been a trademark on. So, you absolutely Frankenstein, Dracula, Sherlock Holmes, Tarzan, all of those characters are public domain, and that's why you have so many different companies doing so many different things with them, because they can, and they owe royalties to nobody.
There's interesting thing on Frankenstein. I'm a big fan of those Hammer horror movies. Mm-hmm. When they made the first Frankenstein movie, Universal sent them a letter and basically said, your Frankenstein had better not in any way look like our Frankenstein, the iconic Frankenstein over here.
And they have a right to say that. That's absolutely right.
Yeah, they didn't want the Karloff-looking Frankenstein. I don't think he could do the thing where he raised them up into the clouds with the lightning. No, nothing like that.
Yeah,
we are watching you very carefully, they said. It was interesting because Universal started out with Hammer, not liking the fact that they were doing the classic monsters again. And then later on, Universal figured we can't beat them, let's join them. And then they distributed a bunch of Hammer movies over here and allowed them to even remake the Mummy. And they even allowed them to use the Universal Frankenstein-looking monster in one of the Hammer horror movies. So they eventually made peace with Hammer. But in the beginning, they were like, we're waiting for you guys to slip up so we can, put a cease and desist on this.
And I don't know this for a fact, but I've always speculated that the fact that it seems like every time you see a different company doing a Frankenstein film, they always change the name of the doctor. It's Victor, it's Eric, it's this, it's that, it's Jake Frankenstein. I don't know, but it's always somebody different.
Jake Lloyd Frankenstein.
Yeah, exactly. Jake Skywalker Frankenstein.
Oh no. Anyways, but it's interesting. I don't know though. Would you even want to take on like 1930s Superman and just do a thing with him?
Oh yeah, that would
be
awesome.
so. And if you did that, Warner Brothers would be like doing everything to sabotage that project.
Oh, absolutely. Okay. So you'd have to make sure that you had an intellectual property lawyer, on your board of directors, looking at every single thing.
They'll have Henry Cavill doing videos where he's tearing up your issues on air or something.
I'll tell you though, that would be the kind of thing that I think a lot of fans would really rally behind, and it would probably be as big a thing as Comicsgate, because I think a lot of very conservative type of people would be looking for those nostalgic stories, those World War II era stories, touching on some things that SJWs don't want you touching on. Yeah. And that would be a whole lot of fun.
Yeah, I would definitely want to read that.
Right?
Yeah, and I think there'd be it'll be interesting to see if this does come to pass.
That's why I want to see a new Rocketeer movie, to be honest with you.
Well, speaking of new something movies,
Oh.
post it. This is the big news of the night. Everyone excited here? Okay.
No, disassemble.
All right.
Geez.
I'm taking over this one. Okay. All right. This is the Short Circuit reboot. We have Short Circuit fans in the chat here. That I was going to read from this article anyway, though. But yeah, the Short Circuit reboot with a twist.
With reboots like these, who'll be needing enemas?
Hold on. Why isn't this popping up here? Okay, I clicked on the. All right, but yeah, we have the Short Circuit reboot with a twist. Whenever I think with a twist, I remember the last Halloween movie they did where we're going to be Bonnie and Clyde with a twist, and I'm like, I know what the twist is. The boyfriend's going to be Bonnie, the girlfriend's going to be Clyde. Yes, I saw that. It's not clever, okay, but I guess that was the point. But
yeah,
anyway, don't get me started on that movie. But why is this article not popping up for me? I'm having technical difficulties.
Is it the link itself?
I don't know. It's by my iPad. Hold on. Let me get out of here. Anyway, it's going to
I told you don't use a PC. It's your own fault.
Anyway, Short Circuit reboot with a twist. Okay. The people behind this are going to make it a quote unquote Latin X twist on a classic sci-fi movie, Short Circuit. And the quote unquote I think should be around classic, but I'm sorry, I'm not a Short Circuit fan.
Really?
So, you like Short Circuit?
Yeah, I like it. It's fun.
It's fun. Okay. It had Steve Guttenberg and Ali Sheedy in it as the main stars. I remember that. And at least the sequel had Michael McKean in it, and he's hilarious. I like
the sequel was hysterical. Oh my god!
I actually like the sequel. Yeah,
I got to be honest. As sequels go, this one did not try to rehash the first one. It did things completely differently, different characters, and embraced them. I thought it was wonderful. It would never work today. Obviously, there'd be all kinds of this is racist. This is, but it's
And I was like, yeah, well, what are you talking about? It's that way. There's an Indian actor in it. And I'm like, oh, that wasn't an Indian actor.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was what's his name in makeup. But Latinx sounds like Kleenex. I noticed that many people they especially people they're referring to, they don't like that word. That was a word that just got applied to them. But
so one of the things
that said, don't blame me. Okay.
Right. One of the things we were talking about when we were talking about this particular piece of business was this whole Latinx concept. It's a social justice warrior term that's come up to be a gender neutral concept, meaning, having to do with Latin culture. And it's like, do you understand that the Latin language has built into its structure, into the language, into the form of the language, a gender? A word is either masculine or feminine, and that's important linguistically. Like
Latino and Latina.
Exactly. Yes. That tells you whether it's a male or a female, In fact, the adjectives, and I'm just going to very quickly do a little. So if you were to say the white witch, okay, the word that would augment that would be the white part of it would be blanca, okay? Mm-hmm. Because, wait a minute, let me think. Bruja, because witch, the word witch is bruja, which is a feminine word. So you would have to say la bruja blanco, okay? The white witch. If it was a male word, like, I'm trying to think of a male word, vestido, okay? Mm-hmm. Which actually means dress. The word for dress is a masculine word. I don't know why. It has nothing to do with actual masculinity and femininity. It just has to do with word construction. Right. So if you wanted to say the white dress, you'd say El vestido blanco. Okay, you got to change the ending to make it match. It's got to be a masculine adjective with a masculine noun. Okay, so that's way more than anyone needs to know, but it's part and parcel of Spanish and Italian and Latin and so many other words that have masculine and feminine connotations to the words, part of the language, inseparable. And these modern ugly Americans who have no concept of language want to project their sensibilities onto other cultures, create a word like Latinx, which doesn't work in the Spanish language. You could be Latino, you could be Latina, you can't be Latinx. Doesn't work.
Yeah. Oh, I like Melissa Harris. No, but this is a family stream. Okay. All right. Anyways,
it's not Latin X, but yeah, don't Google it that way. I'm not responsible for what you find if you Google it that way.
But anyway, Auditor Dread says no Latino or Latina ever refers to themselves as Latinx. Right. My family look at me silly when I ask if they ever heard of the word. Okay, that makes
right.
sense. And I don't know. I mean, I'm not even saying that this will be a bad film. I'm just that word always.
It does seem to signal something, though, doesn't it? The very use of that word.
Because I mean, it's whoever you want to cast. It's just we'll see how this turns out. I don't know about a Short Circuit. Are they calling it a reboot or a sequel? This is another thing they're not clear on. Okay, is it a sequel? Is this the same number 5 from years ago and he's back? They're getting the same voice actor back for it, I believe. But
I have no idea.
I don't know.
I probably will not end up seeing this thing.
What do you mean you won't end up seeing it? It's going to be a Netflix exclusive. You'll subscribe to Netflix to watch this.
I don't.
I don't know if it's going to be a Netflix. It'll be an HBO Max exclusive. Okay.
I don't. If I really want to see it, I'll have to wait for it to come out on DVD because that's the only way I'm getting it from Netflix. I still do the DVD thing. Remember, physical media.
Yes. Anyways, so this kind of looks dead on arrival to me, but we'll see. Yeah. I Short Circuit. I don't know. All I remember about Short Circuit is I was a big fan of the movie The Squid and the Whale, and Jesse Eisenberg's in that, and Jeff Daniels his father, and he brings home his he says we're going to go to a movie before the party, and Jeff Daniels says, oh, I'd like to go with you, and okay. And what movie are we going to see? We're going to see Short Circuit. Really? Because Blue Velvet's playing. The David Lynch movie. And they end up having to go see Blue Velvet, and there's that scene where one of the disturbing scenes in that.
There's some very disturbing scenes in there. I can only imagine which one you're referring to.
So they went to see that instead of Short Circuit, so I remembered that. And Netflix plans to ruin Cowboy Bebop. I've avoided that story this week. Yes, they like to ruin everything, but don't they? Yeah, I think that's it for this. This is kind of a turkey. Okay. The last one, Godfather Coda, The Death of Michael Corleone. This is, you want to post that?
Sure. I'll go ahead and post that. There's not a lot here. I don't see this as being much more than a director's cut of The Godfather 3. I'm a huge Godfather fan. Just look at my thumbnail if you can't tell. I think this is also very timely because for me, I see it as a holiday movie, just me. First time I went over by my cousin Diane's house for Christmas, took my wife. We got there when the scene in Godfather when Sonny's getting shot up in the toll booth. We come in, and I'm like, Merry Christmas.
Oh, you did that?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like the scene where you're watching, your heart gets torn out in that scene,
Yeah, I'm like, it's Christmas. You guys are watching. And yeah.
Especially when you find out who was involved in that, too. The sheer hatred you have,
And that culminates in the third movie, right? When Michael goes to confession. And who's he confessing to? He's confessing to the guy who's going to become the Pope, right?
Oh yeah.
So I think the third movie has gotten a really bad rap. It's considered the most people's least favorite of the three movies, and Sofia Coppola takes a lot of grief for her acting in that movie, and I don't know. I think it's another one of those movies that I think is just judged way too harshly. Let's face it, Sofia Coppola only jumped in because Winona Ryder was cast for it and couldn't do it.
And apparently, I think were there other casting choices too that fell through for Winona Ryder, and they were running out of time. And
yeah, they were ready to film when she pulled out, and they had nothing. So they asked Sophia, and she's like, "Yeah, I'll do it. Because she didn't really have any designs on being an actress.
No, she actually is a accomplished director in her own right.
Very accomplished director, yeah. But
mhm.
So what they're doing is a director's cut on it and a re-release, and they're basing it on the original novel, and it'll be interesting. They said they're doing a new beginning and a new end, and I don't know how they're planning to do it. So I think it's more than just a director's cut.
Yeah, I am like you. I think this movie gets way too much grief. I watched it again a couple of years ago, and I thought this is pretty good. I liked it. I liked it when I first saw it when I was younger too. I am curious as to see what a director's cut might do. Maybe this will give the movie new life, and the original cut's still available. What didn't HBO talk about? Something I would actually want to get on HBO Max, where they didn't Coppola do the mini-series cut of The Godfather, the 7.5-hour one where he combines the first two movies.
Yeah, I've seen that cut. It's an interesting watch. It really is.
I'd like to get that on Blu-ray and maybe get this on Blu-ray because I have the other ones on regular DVD, and I figure if I'm going to buy this one again, I want the other cut available as well. Just make all the alternate cuts available because this does make me curious.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, remember the assassination scene in that?
Mm-hmm.
Whenever the tables are shaking, and that's been ripped off in so many movies since that movie came out. I've seen it stolen. Star Trek Into Darkness ripped it off. Remember? I'm watching Star Trek Into Darkness, and the Starfleet officials, they all get shot up by Benedict Cumberbatch in the copter or whatever. Like that's from Godfather 3. Can't you think of something else?
They ripped off everything to make.
They
that
ripped
movie.
off Star Trek 2 as well. But anyway, another story. But I don't think it deserves the hate. I mean, I don't think Sophia's acting was that bad either. Especially if it's her first time. Come on.
I thought she was quite accomplished. I think she was passable.
Yeah, exactly.
At worst, she was passable.
Yeah.
She wasn't bad. Could she have been better? Sure. There could have been a better actress cast, but when you know that it was a last minute thing, it worked.
But I did it. I've always liked the Godfather movies. I like gangster movies in general. I really do miss The Sopranos.
That was a good series, yeah.
Goodfellas, Casino. Oh, I love Casino. If you want to do something, well, the most disturbing thing I've seen, someone did this on YouTube. You know the scene where Joe Pesci's yelling at Robert De Niro in Casino? They did that, but overdubbed with Bert and Ernie.
Oh my gosh, I haven't seen that. I'll have to look for that.
It's so wrong on so many levels, just all the language flying out of the puppets' mouths. And the funny thing is, if you look at Bert and Ernie, they look kind of like Joe Pesci and Robert De Niro.
I can kind of see that. Yeah. Oh gosh, that's terrible. Yeah. Oh, that'd be good. I gotta check that out. That'll be really, really funny. I've seen a lot of great ones where they've taken Star Wars scenes and dubbed in like Sam Jackson as Darth Vader and stuff like that. But yeah, I'll have to check out the Bert and Ernie one. That sounds really, really good.
But I'm looking forward to that though. And
should we just give out our last one for the night? See if I can find it here again. So just to end on a more positive note, right? Or at least I think it is. I can't speak for everybody, but I know I'm pleased with this. I think Netter's going to be pleased with this too, because she's kind of a big fan. Let me go ahead and drop this. So, because this just was released within the last couple hours. Oh no, I guess it came out 2 days ago. I only just saw it before we went live. So I grabbed a hold of this. But apparently, the scoop is confirmed. Deadpool 3 will be rated R.
I didn't even know Deadpool 3 was still happening. I thought it was
A
done.
lot of people were questioning that, whether it was happening at all. But yeah, Ryan Reynolds has really been holding out, saying if we're going to do this, it needs to be rated R.
Deadpool 2, I loved. It is a wonderful lampooning of not just Marvel Comics, and particularly the X-Men. There are things in that where, like, things that happen in X-Men movies that don't make any sense are played for laughs in Deadpool. Like the fact that he has to go to prison because, for good reason in the beginning of the movie, he breaks the law, he goes to prison, he breaks out, and then all of a sudden he's just doing his normal thing. And I'm thinking, yeah, this makes sense in Marvel movies. Like when the mutant or something gets sent to prison and they break out, it's like they don't actually get sent back to prison.
Right.
It's like, you still broke the law, but I am looking forward to this one. Rated R, that's a good sign. Disney, leave it alone, please. Put it under Touchstone Pictures. Isn't that why you originally created Touchstone?
Look, I had said that I saw Deadpool 2, both rated R and the PG-13 version they did the following year. And I thought that was quite good too. It was different. It's worth having both versions. But it's basically the same story. So
what's the title, the recut one? Not another
something. They had Christmas in the title, didn't it, or something? Because it was. I don't remember. I honestly don't remember. But the important point was they did it as a proof of concept. Can we do it and have it be, successful, even though it's PG-13? But everybody behind the scenes is like, how is this a fair, evaluation when everyone's already seen it? Now you're asking people to go see it again. Of course, we did. I mean, I was willing to check it out, and I was very interested in the fact that, they did some great stuff with it. But
I need to watch it now because you have spoken highly about it. So maybe it's a.
And the one thing I'm hoping for,
go ahead. Mm-hmm.
If they're going to do a sequel and it is Disney, I want to see Gina Carano come back.
Yeah, she was the villain in the first one.
Yeah,
I remember that.
She was the breakout star there.
It was called Once Upon a Deadpool.
Once Upon a Deadpool. That's
yes,
right.
The PG-13 version. So I am curious about that. I'll have to see if that's available anywhere for me to watch. But it's funny though because I did get Deadpool, and I stupidly bought it digital only, Deadpool 2. But anyway, maybe I'll look for a Black Friday sale on it. But it came with my digital only version though. It came with a apparently an unrated cut of Deadpool 2, which I still need to get around to watching. But
there you go.
But it's not the Once Upon a Deadpool.
So is the unrated version supposed to be worse than the R-rated version?
I think so. I'm curious. I've been afraid to watch it because I
will bet you dollars to donuts. It's just that they're going to put in some scenes that weren't in it, and those scenes weren't rated.
Possibly.
Therefore, it becomes unrated. I've discovered that about unrated. That's the trick, right? You think, there's going to be something worse, than R-rated. No. It's probably totally G or PG material that was never submitted for rating before. So if they put it back into the movie, they can't technically say that it's rated. That's what that means.
That can happen. That happened with, I'm a big fan of the Strangers horror movies, but really all that changes is a slightly alternate ending, where something else spooky happens, but it would have gotten an R rating all the same. It's not nothing spectacular.
Exactly. That's exactly it.
And sometimes it's just a marketing gimmick, you get this and the unrated version. I will say this though, I still have to watch Doctor Sleep. Apparently there's a longer version of that, which has even more stuff in it. And people said that even though they liked the theatrical version of that, the longer cut actually added a lot to that as well. So
wow.
Okay. Yeah. That's the one that Warner Brothers didn't bother advertising and nobody bothered to see it.
I know. I haven't seen it yet either. And I'm like, I was looking forward to that.
And I heard it was good. From what I heard, it was actually, they did a good job with it, and it's probably about as good a Shining sequel as you could hope to get if you ever wanted a Shining sequel.
Yeah, exactly. And I heard that they kind of homaged and respected both the book and the movie, which are both very different.
Yeah, that's what the director had to do. He had to honor the King book, but also honor the Kubrick movie. So I don't know if it's like I guess he handled both well. And one thing that one of the reviewers I watched said what was interesting was in he actually cast different actors as like who was the Scatman Crothers character in the
I'm sorry, I can't
yeah,
remember.
but he cast him, but the actors he cast with it to replace Shelley Duvall and stuff when Danny would see them, whatever, they still kind of look like the older actors, even though I've seen these actors in the movies too. But he did cast actors that kind of resembled the older
right.
mannerisms. So I give him points for that because I think that should be the case instead of maybe wearing computer animated masks. But on that note, I think we'll move on. I think that's it, right?
Yep.
Okay. Do we want to say anything? What is coming up this week? I know it's a weird week of Thanksgiving.
I'm gonna run through this stuff really quick because I know you're up against the up against the clock here.
Yeah.
So let me make sure that I get the from here. Those of you that are into the weeby type stuff, this Princess Mononoke.
Princess Mononoke. I will be on the stream tonight as well. If you feel like tuning in, I will be rambling because I know a lot about this movie. So yes, Princess Mononoke.
Yep.
Tune in if you want. It'll be a fun time.
And then then Monday we got Sound Engraver. No, we also have over on the Catholic Bible Geek. The professor will be doing his somebody's nephew or other book
Magician's
study.
nephew.
Thank you very much. Wolf 10 Media. Do you have your ramblings going on that day too? I'm not sure. Let me drop that link real quick. He's got some great stuff. Make sure you follow him too. But Wednesday's the big one.
Yep.
So is Daniel Heron doing something on Wednesday?
I don't know if he is or not. He said he might do something just to keep it consistent. But I am going to be on a different network that night. I'm going to be on Debtor's Network for the Charlie Brown Thanksgiving special rewatch.
Oh, Sound Engravers on Monday night. She's doing at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time music in The Magician's Nephew.
Oh, okay, great.
So they're related. And then yes, let me drop Netter's Wednesday night. Oh geez, I'm sorry. I'm clicking around trying to get this stuff.
But it'll be a wonderful. Oh, thank you, Auto Dread. Thank you. But it's going to be a rewatch of the Thanksgiving special. I'm a big Charlie Brown special nut.
So 9 Central, 10 Eastern, over on Netter's Network. Her and Agent Boomer, and maybe myself. I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it.
Well, if you have a game, that's all right. I can. We're going to be watching. Oh,
yep.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No.
And yeah, it's gonna be the Charlie Brown Thanksgiving special, and I might ramble on a bit about Charlie Brown. Not that I'm an expert, but he was a big part of my childhood. See, back in the '80s, the Disney Vault was in full effect, but I had peanuts. So okay,
that's exactly right. Remember, get the physical media so they can never take it away from you.
I have the Blu-ray. Oh, there was good news though. PBS is going to be airing those on TV.
Yep.
This was a news article. I forgot to mention this, but yeah, if check your local listings. But apparently, maybe Apple didn't like the bad press or just felt like doing something nice. Apparently,
but something tells me this is the last year. So if you need to get your recording device ready and record it, or like I said, get out there and get the physical media because this could be the last year it's available to you on free TV. Let's see. Did I mention Green Lion Girl on Wednesday? I don't know if she's doing a stream this week.
I don't know if she is or
might
not.
Be. Check her out.
I know it's the weird week because of the holidays, and I would imagine Thursday and Friday. I don't know if anything's going on then.
I don't know. We normally have the Catholic Bible Geek with his Book of John study on Thursday. Don't know if that's happening or not. Wolf 10 Media, I already dropped that link. I think Fan Man's doing something on Friday.
And then what about Saturday night?
And then Saturday is join me and Netter and Big Al of Big Al Presents on Big Al Presents channel for a holiday rewatch of the Best Little Whorehouse in Texas. We're having a hard candy Christmas this year, my friends. It's 2020. So
I need to. I can't always tune in right away, but I want to tune in for that one. Okay.
No Bible study on Catholic Bible Geek Thursday. Okay, thanks, Sound Engraver.
But you got the last little whorehouse in Texas.
But we got the best little whorehouse in Texas.
I better be good. Lightning's gonna hit me in a minute. Okay, all right. I keep my mouth shut. All right.
This is Dolly Parton. You know it's not a bad movie.
Yes, it's
Okay.
got Sylvester Stallone in it too, right? Oh no, wait a minute. That wasn't Best Little.
That was a different movie, but that's a good one too.
That was Rhinestone. Okay, never
That was
mind.
Rhinestone.
Okay.
I like that movie too. Actually, I like anything that Dolly Parton's in. She's awesome.
There we go. Okay,
We
well,
should wrap this up because you need to get over to the Weeb Watch.
thank you everyone for tuning in, and we'll be back next week. I will probably do a Black Friday rant, so you don't want to miss that. I have a suspicion I'm going to be angry, so we'll find out on Sunday. Anyway, catch you later, and anything else to add, Troy?
Nope, that's it. Go
All right,
get to your
have a good
show.
night.
Take it easy.